support the process, we would have a tough time connecting with you at all. We've got two notable partners that are missing from the list right now. The Brink SBDC, shame on me for not pointing that one out, since I worked there, and it was the group that initially launched the San Diego Angel Conference. And also wanted to give a shout out to Founders Institute, and we hope to have their logos incorporated first thing next week. And I would be remiss if I did not mention the efforts of the University of San Diego. So this program is brought to you by the University of San Diego School of Business. I actually work for USD. It is the home of the Free Enterprise Institute, the San Diego Angel Conference, the Brink SBDC, student-facing programs like the Catalyzer and Project SD, the soon-to-come new source of funding for you, the True Angel Fund, and then hopefully in the next year or so, an innovation and family business program that we're working to put together. The goal is to create something that serves both students and the community as a change maker campus, and with a heart to serve. We know that we can bring the world's best things to life if we can wrap capital around it. So happy to be here and part of this amazing system, bringing this to you tonight. If you are not currently working with a coach or a mentor, I want to bring to your attention the Brink SBDC is right here at USD as well. They've been connected to the San Diego Angel Conference since the beginning. They're the #1 ranked innovation accelerator. I see there's a number of the consultants that have been part of this group on with us tonight, including Richard Clark and Benton Moore. I also see the amazing Tyler Arden, who should see a lot of his work. He was with us as a student, and I'm super excited to see him in the audience tonight. The Brink SBDC has worked with 1,200 companies in the last 3 years, helped those companies raise $124.5 million, and their current client list is about 650. Those services are free. They have a big grant that funds the back end of that to be able to make the services available to startups like yours for no cost. All right, and with that, I would like to introduce to you Brian Engelman and Sumner Webster, who are this year's co-fund managers. And I would bet that they have orchestrated who's going to go first. So I'll hand it over to you guys.
That's hilarious. Orchestrated something, huh? But listen, I'll go ahead and go first, whether some wants me to or not. I just want to welcome everyone to the San Diego Angel Conference for E-Track Kickoff. I'm Brian Engelman. I'll be this year's fund manager along with Sumner. And I just want everybody to realize that we've got a wonderful fund management team working with us and with Misty and Chris, who will get introduced in a bit, to make this our 4th successful year in a row, supporting startup community here in San Diego, across the US, and even some far-flung corners around the world. So while some of you may have never even met an angel investor before, I just want to let you know we don't bite. At SDAC, we're all about getting to yes, as a matter of fact, helping you understand the steps to take and the information you need to succeed. And at the end of March, while there will only be one winning check handed out, past conferences have always seen 3 or more companies funded. And we hope every single one of you will feel like winners after learning more about what it takes to get your company funded. Welcome again. Sam?
Awesome. Thanks so much, Brian. Again, Sumner Webster. I'm one of this year's co-fund managers, and somehow Misty has not blocked my email address from joining these meetings. And Brian is far better at public speaking than I am, and so I just want to say, this is an incredible opportunity for all of these entrepreneurs, all of you guys. I myself wish that I had had all of this when I started my career, and when I started a couple of my businesses, it would have saved me numerous headaches, numerous issues, and hopefully it prevented me from getting a little bit more white hair than I already have. And so again, take advantage of it. It is an incredible opportunity. We're here to help, and we really look forward to going through this journey with all of you, and hope to see you guys as this process continues into the fall and into the spring.
Thanks, Brian and Sumner. So the interesting thing about the San Diego Angel Conference is it is an event. We are going to put a bunch of money behind the winning company. but it is also a micro VC fund. So these are actual investors who are putting their money together to fund great companies like yours. And I have another sort of famous person that I would like to introduce. Mostly, I want her to tell you that it's for real, that she actually got the money. I'd like to introduce Pranya Desh. She's with Advocat Technologies, and she's the winner of SDAC 3. Pranya?
Thank you, Misty. I don't know what to think that you're calling me a famous person. I'm honored. I want to tell everybody the SDAC experience was just amazing. It's such a supportive environment. It helps you develop your company. So I think today we're learning about pitches and a few more things. But so yes, there are definite sections that need to be in your pitch, but those are the same things that you need to know well at this stage of your company. So problem opportunity, go to market, business plan, developing a good pitch and refining it helps you get to know whether you're actually ready to raise funds. And as you go through the E-Track, you get to learn what to present, but you'll probably identify gaps, and that's okay. Just go fix it. So if you need to spend a week or a month interviewing your potential customers, prototyping a solution, and doing that as many times as it takes, sure, your slides are going to be better. You're going to have a better pitch. But even more important than that, your company is going to be better. You'll be better positioned to win in the marketplace and to raise funds. So yes, as Misty said, I'm here to tell you that this process is for real. So our company did, in fact, get the big check, and that was awesome. I actually had a large check that I could carry with me. They ended up mailing it because I tried to carry it onto a plane and didn't want to carry that through the airport. That would have been awkward. So my company won SDAC 3 in March, and we right away rode that momentum to close a $1.3 million funding round. And the funny thing about a funding round is right in the beginning, it's really hard to get somebody to write that first check. But after you close it, there are investors coming out of the woodwork asking if you could please oversubscribe and take more. It's a funny process that we're in. So since SDAC, we have hired a full team of engineers. We released our software. We're working hard on improving our sales cycle. We've had some successes in that, and we're also working on improving that because it's always a process to improve. So my advice to you is you got this. The goal is for SDAC is that all viable SDAC companies get funded. So if you really work to learn from STRAC and improve your company, then that's a win right there, and you'll make your company more fundable. And I'm very grateful to all that SDAC does. Thank you.
I mean, it's great to have you here. Not everybody gets to win, and I've got some things to share, but it's so much fun to see the momentum that comes in behind companies as they advance. And I should probably shout out a few more people. I see Sylvia Ma is here. She was fund manager for Fund 1. She's been on the fund management team for 3 years. She's helped drive a ton of deals into this process. Benton Moore, as I mentioned, he was fund manager for Fund 2. I see a number of other investors. If you would like, we have a separate Zoom background you can use so that we can pick you out if you want to be picked out, but you are more than welcome to stay in stealth mode if you'd like. But if you just send a direct message to Chris or I, we can get the backgrounds over to you. I want to go on and talk about the next piece, which is process. So a couple of big changes this year. I also see Rodrigo Hernandez on the line tonight. We're going to do our best to we're going to consider companies from Mexico and Canada this year. That's a really big move for us. Exciting, super exciting that we're making that jump. And Rodrigo is my partner on the Mexico side. He's been working at putting something together for a while. And he's going to help us figure out the legal and financial structures and constraints that we need to resolve to be able to give that fair consideration. So super exciting to see that. I also see Tammy Stevenson, who's part of the fund management team, joined SDAC 3 and then stayed on. And I think David Losky's here as well. So great to have him. What's going to happen tonight is I'm going to give you just a quick overview about the process. And then we've got a really super short break. And then Greg Gibson's going to come and talk about storytelling as the, most valuable piece about how you really start to raise money, is how you develop that really good angel investing storytelling muscle. So the way the San Diego Angel Conference works, it works in 2 big chunks. In the first phase, we run this entrepreneurs track, which kicks off tonight and wraps up December 15th. December 15th is the application. Provided that we can all be in public, we're going to throw a party. And then that closes the entrepreneurs track, the e-track part of it, and it opens the investor track. So starting in January, our investor group's going to take a look at every one of those deals. And over a period of time, we're going to filter down from the total number of applications to the winner. And I'll share a little bit more about how that process happens, but it takes about 10 or 12 weeks. And at the end of it, we come to the point where the investors get together and they make a decision to choose a winner and fund 1 or more companies. So Brian had alluded to, we've funded more than 1. We funded 3 companies from SDAC 1, 3 in SDAC 2, 5 in SDAC 3. We always set a goal of raising $200,000 in what we call a winner take all. But we raised $1.7 million in the last round, $735,000 directly through the fund, another $1 million in deals on the side. And I've got actually some even more interesting information to share about that. So I would like to tell you it's like a 1 in 125 chance, but it's more like a 1 in 40 chance or something like that. So your odds are a little bit better, and it's very finite. We love that. There's 3 particular dates that you'll want to remember. Application deadline is 12/15. So December 15th, we've got to have those. January 5th is when we open the deals for the investors. We'll get to start taking a crack at them that day. We want you to keep working on your deals all the way through to the end, but that's the day that we open the doors for the investors. The investor track kicks off that day. And then right now, the date for the finality is tentatively set for March the 26th. That's a Saturday. It looks like we may do something in combination with another organization, and that date might change just a tiny bit, but it'll be right around then, the 25th, 26th, sometime right at the end of March. All right, so I want to just take a minute and step aside and talk about why we're doing this work. So this is the people who know me always see me get on my little soapbox here. And the soapbox goes like this. From my perspective, the world's in big trouble. We have lots of big problems that we face, everything from climate change to pollution, inability to deal with trash, and clean water, healthcare problems like, perhaps a global pandemic. We've got really big things to solve for 8 billion people. And I don't think we're going to work our way out of it. Like we can work hard, all 8 billion of us, but we're probably not going to solve some of the problems that we face, but we might invent our way out. So SDAC 1 winner, Brianna Bretschker with AquaCycle, has a revolutionary technology for clean water. Agribody Tech, who did not take money through the SDAC process, but had an exit in the last year, figured out how to hybridize a seed that's drought resistant and 30% shows a 30% increase in yields to help feed the planet that we live on. So I think there's some really fantastic ways that we will solve the world's big problems through innovation. And innovation by itself doesn't change anything. You've got to have a path to take things to the world. And the best path I know to take things to the world is if somebody can make money at it. So we're pro-capitalist, pro-environmentalist, pro-social good. And we've got a really unique opportunity to transform some really important things for the world. All right, so I'll set my soapbox down, but that's the big why. It's the big why we're here, from my perspective. And I'm going to push all of you in the next 15 weeks to get really, really clear on what your value proposition is. And ours is we get to yes. That's what we do. So Everything that we touch in the San Diego Angel Conference process is focused on this idea of yes. Our goal, our purpose, our mission is to activate investors. And the byproduct of that is making cash available for companies like this. But the pathway is the yes pathway. And so when we look at a deal, a lot of fellow angel investing groups will take a look at a deal, and it's easy to be able to kill a deal. Like, there is not one of you that could bring your deal to me that I could not find some fault, some potential risk that could destroy your company. But if we start with the prospect of getting to yes, we change the conversation. We say, like, okay, maybe there's risks here, but how do we overcome them? How do we get through this? And what would it take for us to be able to say yes to this? And so it changes. It's really transformation. It's transformational in the discussions between investors and entrepreneurs when you start with that on both sides, because it takes us down a path of working together instead of being like two distinct, different groups that are, trying to navigate each other. So, any questions so far? I'm going to pause there because most of your time with us will not be like this. This is the last time I will be very lectury at you. Okay, I will keep going then. All right, so details about how the E-Track is going to work. The next 15 weeks, 15 weeks, every week we're going to take a topic that's important to you as a founder as you try and see things forward. We are not terribly concerned about whether or not you could polish up a PowerPoint deck and give an adequate speech to a group of investors. We are very, very concerned if you can build a company that can survive a due diligence process and grow to $100 million. Like that's a great goal for us. That's where we want to see you. Everything that we're going to do over the next 12 to 15 weeks is really focused on that. And for something a little bit different, since this is our second time through as a full Zoom delivered program, we're going to break up the sections every week. Last year, there were these long stretches of lecture and instruction. This year, we're going to try and break each session into 3 parts, bring in 2 different speakers, have breakout sessions where you can meet with either industry experts or investors to ask questions directly. So we're trying to really change it up and create something that's much more interactive. During this process, right now we have 5 in-person events planned. So 3 pitch deconstructions, an alternative funding expo, and the celebration. Depending on what happens with how the numbers are going and what rolls out from both CDC and County of San Diego, we may or may not end up doing some things in live, but our plan is also to be able to offer pretty much everything virtually as well. So some of those, we won't be doing hybrid events, but we will be doing tandem events or inline events so that we can accommodate everybody. You'll see here in the purple, the 3 pitch deconstructions. We'd like to do those live if we can do that, if that's at all possible. It is so much more powerful if you have to stand up in front of real people and share what you've got. We can help you with a lot more if we can see you in person. So we'll try and get those 3 pitch deconstructions. And then this other purple bar here at the bottom says gus.com. I don't think you can get access to this yet. We don't have it turned on. So we're not quite ready for applications. I have a short series of questions I need to give a tiny bit more thought to, but that will be the place where you'll go to put your application together. So the platform that we use is Gust. And what happens is you will upload all of the information for your Gust application. There are probably 20 different things that you have to do, including a 60-second video. Financials, your deck, any of your marketing information, an executive summary. It's pretty lofty group of things that you're going to have to go through to get the application together, but it's going to give us everything that we need to make first pass evaluations of all the companies. It's pretty uniform and keeps things organized for investors. And then investors can log in, they can see everything. They can also rate things on the back end and share information with each other. So any questions about the workshops, the application process, even though I know you can't see it right now? Any questions about any of that?
I have a question, Misty.
Sure, go ahead.
This is Alex Alejandro. Who is your like avatar attendee? Who is the type of company you're looking for that can take advantage of this?
Right, great question. So we are industry agnostic and stage agnostic. If you look at the companies that we funded, most everything is early seed stage. We're pre-series A, primarily that's who ends up, and we're looking for things that are really balanced. So good team, good go-to-market strategy, good handle on the customer and the customer acquisition process, solid financials, even if it's forecast. So we have funded pre-revenue companies consistently. Like we've always got a mix. We funded things. We've funded clean tech. We've funded healthcare. We've done a variety of different industries. We do not have a lens for gender or race, to be fair, but we have more women than men. I don't remember what the number is. It's 8, I think. 8 of the 11 companies are led by women in our portfolio. So let me just be sincere and fair about that. We've funded the 11 best companies that we've seen, 8 of whom happen to be run by women. So like we're looking for great companies with good returns first. And we don't have a lens for anything else. Alex, does that answer your question?
That was perfect. That was more than enough. That was
Perfect.
great. Thank you.
Okay. I will try and answer questions shorter. It's a struggle for me.
No, it was great. It was perfect.
Any other questions on overall process? Or anything else, really? I think I just jumped. All right, we have 3 pitch deconstructions scheduled. These are great events. I'm jumping. I think it's going to have to go back. The way a pitch deconstruction works is we start with a lightning round. So 1-minute round. People will actually, if we're physically together, people will line up in the aisle and they'll just go one right after another. In Zoom, we've got another way that we've figured out how to manage that if we need to do it by Zoom. Everybody gets 60 seconds. So we're going to listen to everybody pitch. Sometimes it takes an hour and a half to get through all the pitch deconstructions. We have some judges in the room that are going to give some overall feedback. And so the judges always include accredited investors that are actually doing deals right now. They include technical experts, seasoned business people, and often at least one of our partners or some of our stakeholder group. The judges are going to give some overall comments. Everybody in the room is going to vote, including the entrepreneurs. Like if you pitch, you get to vote. And then we invite 3 companies to come back and do a 3-minute pitch with slides. So then we take each one of those apart more carefully and we start to say, like, what do investors like or not like? And sometimes we don't agree, right? You're going to get a feeling for the understanding of how complex this is and why there's not an easy recipe, because not every investor is looking for the same thing and not all of us hear stuff the same way. So it's a great pitch practice event. We'll do that 3 times. So we'll do that twice in October and then once the first week of December. And those always prove to be very helpful. And then for the investor track, these are not all of the dates. So once the investors start meeting, you all meet weekly. The investors will meet 2, sometimes 3 times a week for usually 3 hours at a time to be able to make this set of decisions. And the last 5 weeks, they probably need a whole lot more often than that. The dates on the screen are what happens if you move forward. And this is the best way that I can help you understand if this is the first time you're looking at it. The investors are going to start looking at deals on January the 5th, and then they're going to talk about them for a couple of weeks, and they're going to vote on them. And then they're going to make a set of decisions, and they're going to pick 24 to 30 companies as quarterfinals. We're going to do that without inviting anybody into the room. So we ask every investor to look at every video. Make sure you get a video up, right? It's the best. It's the one thing that everybody's going to look at. So if we have, last year we had 63 investors. This year I expect it'll grow again. So you probably 70 or 75 investors that will look at all of the videos. If there's 125 videos, they're going to look at all of them. And then the investors are going to break into groups, and each group is going to take 20 or so deals. So every deal is going to get reviewed by a minimum of 8 or 10 investors. We're going to look at it carefully for a variety of things. And then they're going to up, down vote for the first round, and they're not going to get to see any of you in person, right? So from the minute that we start, we tell the investors the same thing. What we tell the investors is, if you see a deal you really like, if there's something here that's really exciting in your preliminary review, pick up the phone, go have coffee, write a check if you want. Like, we are not going to hinder that process in any way. Our overall goal is to activate investors. And so if they do that ahead of our little schedule, that's totally fine. So it's not unheard of. It's not even unlikely that you'll get outreach from investors early on, and they'll want to know more about your company because they have some interest for some reason. Investors happen to have as many passions as all of you do. So it's natural that those would occasionally line up. So once the quarterfinalists are selected on January 26th and 27th, we're going to invite those 24 to 30 companies in to meet the investors. Usually it happens over 2 nights. We do half one night, half the next. We have a mixer. If we can do it in person, we're definitely hoping that we're going to be able to do it in person by 2022. We did last year do them virtually, which is obviously not as great because you miss a lot of the networking opportunities, but we'll do the best that we can. Companies will come in for a 3-minute pitch with a highly moderated Q&A. So the Q&A is super rapid fire. It happens very, very fast, but it gives us a better snapshot, and it gets us an opportunity to meet the top 24 to 30 companies. Then the investors are going to go off. At that point, they're going to take a closer look. All the investors will take a closer look at as many pitches as they can of those top companies, the top quarterfinalists. We're going to have the quarterfinalists, then they're going to vote for the top 12. So that becomes our group of semifinalists. So then the semifinalists, we will invite in for a full, what I consider a full pitch, 10 minutes, reasonably healthy Q&A. It's still pretty short. And then there's another period of time where they're talking it over and, studying things, doing more research, perhaps more outreach. And then we're going to pick 6 companies. So the 6 companies will get picked on February the 16th. The next week, those 6 companies will get invited in. The investors will split into 6 teams. Each team will take 1 company. And the first thing we're going to do is we're all going to have dinner, and you get to spend a couple, 3 hours with your investor group. And they're going to start to ask you questions. And then they're going to give you a list, and then it's going to be a plethora of stuff that they're going to ask you for. Our requirements are, this is a full due diligence process. So they're going to spend probably 40 or 50 hours over that 5-week period studying your company. And every week they're going to report back to each other. So each team reports out once a week to the rest so that everybody kind of keeps abreast. And then over that 5 or 6 week period, some of the companies are going to emerge and kind of float to the top. We haven't ever had it where we funded all of the companies. We got close last year. We didn't quite get there, but it's possible that they could fund all of the finalists or just 1. So we know that we're going to make a commitment to 1 company it's likely that it will be more than one. But the decision for that won't happen until March the 26th. So we'll have a pretty good idea. There'll be a due diligence report. Everybody gets to read and review them. There's a VIP reception the night before for just a last chance to ask companies questions and a few other things. And then they hear the pitches for the final time during the conference. After they've heard all 6 pitches, the investors are going to go in another room and they're going to stay there until they decide who's the winner and how much money that company is going to take home, and if they're going to pick runner-ups and how much money those companies will get. So these dates are important dates. Sort of mark your calendar. We can deal with somebody who's got to be out of town. We had somebody last year who needed to be somewhere sincere, like they were maybe getting married. I'm not sure. We can deal with that except for on the finale. So as soon as we know when that finale is, we really need you to be there in person for the finale. I would have said in year 1 that we needed to have you available for all of the things in bold, but pandemics have changed a lot of things for most of us. Any questions on selection process or how we are going to run up?
See, there are 2 questions in the chat I'd like to read to you, if that's okay.
Okay.
The first one is, what if the potential for my company isn't 100 million? What if it's a lot smaller?
Oh, well, that's a good point. So investors are looking for we're looking for a 40x return, right? So we're hoping we're going to get a 10x return in the next 5 years. That's what we're hoping will happen, but we're hunting for something better than that. So we're looking for scale. And if you have a company that can't scale, it's probably not a candidate for angel investing. That said, it doesn't mean you can't pivot and help it get there. And it doesn't mean we don't see lots of things that don't seem like they're going to have great outcomes that end up having fantastic outcomes. So don't let that be a deterrent, at least not yet.
Awesome, thank you. And the second question is, are all pitches live or virtual post COVID-19?
Post COVID-19, because we are opening it up to most of North America, we will probably need to make some accommodation for that. It would definitely be our preference to have the pitches live as much as possible. So as much as the world will let us do that. And also just in general, I can't tell you like the number of times I've seen odd things happen. So an entrepreneur comes to one of these workshops wearing a t-shirt from some half marathon he ran, and some investor walks over to him and says, "Hey, you're a marathoner, me too," right? Like all you need is that little door opener, and you never know how those things are going to happen. So the more opportunities we can create to have you interact with the investors, the better.
Thank you.
Misty?
Yeah.
I had a question come in kind of on PM as well that might be useful for the group. And the question basically was whether we accept idea stage pre-product startups. And my response, of course, we can accept them. That's a perfect place for somebody. This is the perfect place for you to be right now is learning what it's going to take to get funding. And you know what? Funding isn't for 7 more months anyway. So depending on how quickly you might be able to develop that product, you could get there. Usually a company at that stage is a little bit early for angel funding. But the beautiful thing about this process is as long as you stick with it and you're here consistently, you're going to have access not just to entrepreneurs, but to angel investors, family angels, other investors that might be interested in helping you kind of in a pre-seed or even a friends and family round. So this process, this e-track is literally for everyone. And then it's your decision whether you want to enter the actual competition for funding in December is when you've got to make that decision if you think you've got a shot at it.
Yeah, and the other side of that is you do not have to attend all of these sessions to apply. Right, there's not actually anything that happens in these 15 weeks. Now, if a whole bunch of people drop off the call, I'll feel bad, but There's nothing that happens in these 15 weeks that gives you any privilege points or anything into that. What we do hope is that it helps you find out, like, if you think you're really ready to go and you're willing to sit through this process with us, you might find a couple of things you can sharpen up. And when you're competing against 125 other companies, the couple of things that you might sharpen up might make all the difference. So yeah, there's nothing, we have funded companies that don't have products yet, that don't have, that are well on their way to MVPs, but not quite there yet, like good proof of concept, and theoretically lots of stuff works, and this will help them get to the next place. But it doesn't have to be that way. So Pradnya, you're a good case in point. You were close, but you did not have a product in the market yet. Okay. All right.
I have a quick question, Misty, if
Go
that's
ahead.
okay.
Of course, yeah.
What can we expect for equity or dilution, or the amount of the awards? Is it a standard 200K or 150, and or what can we expect to set aside for the angel investors? Obviously that varies, but just what is the expectation?
Sure, that's a good question. So when you put your application together, you're going to have to put some of the terms of your deal, and maybe you don't know yet, right? You kind of think you might know what they might be, but maybe don't actually know yet, which is fine. We see a lot of convertible notes. We see price rounds. We haven't seen a revenue redemption opportunity, like a revenue, like something where we'd end up, paying back a profit-based loan. We haven't seen anything like that, but I don't think I think we'd take a look at it. I have told investors in our group, run from safes. People keep twisting my arm. We're going to have to take another look at it. But typically, historically, we haven't done a safe. I was thinking, like, have we done a safe? I don't think we have. Typically, what we see is a convertible note if you're pre-revenue. If you're post-revenue, it's more likely to be a price round than a convertible note, but sometimes we see convertible notes there too. What will happen is when we get to the point where we pick the finalists, we'll have some idea about what the terms of the deal look like because of what you put in. And if your terms seem really weird, like your valuation, it seems to be out of this world or something like that, that tends to be the one that we notice. We'll be talking to you about that all along the way. And if we can't navigate that, you probably aren't going to make it to the finals, but if we can navigate that, we'll see a company through. Once the finalists are chosen, as long as the terms are reasonable, like somewhat reasonable, then the fund managers are going to negotiate those terms in the last 6 weeks. We have to have the terms negotiated with every company before the finale, or else we can't move them forward. We have to be able to know that no matter who we pick, we can write a check to that day. That said, we don't actually write a check. I mean, we write the big funky one that you see on the screen there, but what happens is it's usually a wire transfer, and it usually happens within about 3 weeks after the event, because as much as we're going to promote the heck out of this for the next 6 months, there are people who are not going to hear about it until the day before, or perhaps even the day after. And we still want to be able to include their money in the fund. So we won't actually close the fund until about 10 days after the event. And then it takes another few days for all the checks to get to the bank and clear, the wire transfers to come through. So our money is going to get delivered as a wire transfer approximately 3 to 4 weeks after the main event. We say it's 200,000. We have never done less than 200,000 for the winner. I can tell you Pradnya's was 285. So, and then the runner-up companies all came in at just over 100,000. So they were about 106,000. Our fund one winner, the way we had structured our documents that year, didn't allow us to go over 200. So we did 200,000 and another 95 in an SPV on the side the week after. So it's somewhere in that range is the amount of money that we're going to invest But I can tell you in terms of the deal, we're trying to get to yes. And we're trying to get to deals that work for investors and that are fair to entrepreneurs. We are not Shark Tanky. We're very practical. This is a learn by doing process. Nobody's gonna try and get you here. So, and if somebody comes to you and says like, hey, I'm willing to give you $20,000 for 60% of your company, you come talk to me, right? You get to report those people. I'll go help them understand what the expectations are. Like this is a learning process for investors as much as it is for entrepreneurs. So it means that we all get to make mistakes, and this gets to be a safe place for that.
Thank you.
Misty, there's another question in the chat. What are some typical historical terms?
Benton or Sylvia? I don't know if Amy's on. Do either of you want to take that one?
Go ahead, Benton, if you want, or I can take it too.
You go ahead, Sylvia.
Thank you. I know that everybody hates that, but it depends, right? And what's really neat about SDAC is that we are getting to yes. So we really work with the entrepreneur. I spent hours talking to the entrepreneurs before we even have those deal terms. And Benton, I know, did a lot more work than I did in that aspect because we had lots more knowledge by that time about what we really wanted as a fund. So I wouldn't be too worried about it just because we do work with the entrepreneur. So I don't know, Benton, do you want to add that?
Yeah, and you're spot on, and it's always negotiable, and it really depends on what the investors see in the company and where the company is. You know, you're trying to find a partnership that's going to work for 5 to 10 years, and the terms reflect that. Generally, we lean away from safes. Let's say 70% of angel deals are convertible notes, probably 25% are preferred priced rounds, and 5% or so in California are safe notes, but even less than that in San Diego. Most of those come out of Silicon Valley. But the terms of the actual deal, there's some boilerplate templates that we all use, and everyone wants to have information rights and board observer rights. But as far as the actual financial component of it, it's very negotiable.
I think also one thing I would add to that is that think about it, we are a fund. We have to convince investors to buy more units or even buy one unit. So the least amount of red flags, the least amount of yellow flags in any of the deals is what we want as a group and what you want as an entrepreneur. So it's just think about that. And that's the ethos that we lead by.
And I'd say too, if you're bringing in a convertible round and we're not the lead, we're going to follow your lead. Like we're not going to try and get you to go renegotiate your terms with an existing investor, something like that. So I would say we're very practical in our approach.
Oh, there's some great questions here. You want to tackle them? Patricia Underwood says the founder relationship should ideally be a partnership, and we completely agree with that. What are the expectations for investors to support the founder on their journey to success in terms of mentoring and strategic advisory? I think one thing that, like Misty just said, like this is all free, all the E-Track, all the I-Track, all of that. So we really are very entrepreneurial friendly. And we do have support people from the brink. Benton is one of them and many others that are on the call right now. They're here to support you as somebody who can, it's a neutral partner, not an investor. Some of them are investors, some of them are coaches, but they really are neutral to get you to succeed in your own way. And basically the founder market fit, product market fit, marketing, funding, and then you have these investors that come right alongside you and walk along that journey with you so that it's something that you guys are doing together and you're learning together to get the right thing to. And I know like Pradnya and even Oriana the first year and all of the other entrepreneurs that worked with us, Pradnya, thank you for on video. They worked with us throughout the process. It wasn't like, oh, Pradnya had it all together. Boom. She had all the templates right. She had everything. She worked with us as investors to say, what do you need? What due diligence do you need? Let me walk alongside you, investors. What are the things that I can clear up for you? So being open, coachable is exactly what they say. You are completely correct. Right, but Pradnya?
Absolutely. There's a lot that we need to learn, and we just need to know that and take that on board and learn from it.
And there's other questions there, Misty, that you might want to do. What are the terms that of the last 3 winners? Can we get some sample templates?
I don't know that we can share the terms of the last 3 winners. Those are probably confidential, but Pradnya can tell you if she thinks it was reasonable. I mean,
yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm happy to share what our terms were if that helps.
if you don't mind, I just,
Yeah.
I'm careful with that part.
Okay, yeah, so we came in with a $5 million cap for a convertible note, and that was something that we had an investor already in. And so that it was pretty smooth going through the process, and so the terms didn't change at all.
Yeah, to that original question, beyond the terms, what other support can you expect? Pradnya just said she was closed. I don't remember what you said, close to 2 million.
Yeah, 1.3.
1.3. That's
1.3.
2 million. I'm a round up kind of like I'm looking at the positive side of that.
Yeah, we actually had 2 million offered. We said no to the last 700 because we didn't need it.
Nice, fantastic. I can tell you our SDAC 1 winner, 90 days actually on the dot. She closed 4 million. So it's not just the winners. Of course, I'm the most familiar with winners because I feel like I can strong arm come do stuff so there's a whole huge amount of press that comes with the process. Like, it doesn't even matter where you end up. There's some press that's going to come with it. We're going to identify a point of contact from the investors to continue to be your person affiliated with us, so that you don't have like all 63 or 75 investors like bringing their friends to do field trips of your warehouse or whatever. Like, we do know that you're trying to run a company here. But at the same time, if you need help, if you get stuck anywhere, come back to your point of contact, and they've got that whole huge inventory of resources they can go to for help. So we'll jump in and help on like key connections to industry partners, other investors, a whole bunch of resources that are beyond just the money. So I will have to put my glasses on if I have to read the chat. It looks like, is there another question in the chat that I should pay attention to?
I think we got them.
No, we got
Okay.
them.
Okay. All right. Moving on, I'll do these last couple of slides. So it didn't come up. I was totally prepared. This is the question I almost always get. What if I don't win? If you don't win, I'm not going to give you your $149 application fee back. I'm just not going to do it, because we're going to spend a ton of time and energy trying to cultivate and help you. And we just, we're not in a position to do that. So we'd have to give back, the money everybody except one. To date, we've had 325 applications. We funded 11 companies. We have a total of, I think it ends up being 95 or 96 investors. I think it's on the next slide. So it's close to 100 investors. And then I'm not going to say that because of the San Diego Angel Conference that we have any right to own this last number, because what we did is we have this great student. I'm going to just actually jump over. We have this great student. I think he's still here, Matthew Leclerc. If you participated before, you've talked to Matthew. He spent the whole summer on the phone. Hey, Matthew, wave. There's
Hello. Nice to meet you all.
Matthew got on the phone and he contacted every company who's ever applied, and he contacted every investor who's ever played with us. And he did a bunch of tracking for us this summer. So I'm not going to say that we can take credit for $91 million in capital, but for the companies and the investors who've gone through our process since the San Diego Angel Conference started 3 years ago, we've seen $91.1 million in capital. I'll show you a little bit more of the details. So Matthew spent the whole summer tracking people down. We had 294 unique companies. So we have some companies that apply more than once, which is totally fine. We expect that to happen. Of the 294, 152 companies responded. And 70 of those companies have not raised any money. And 76 of those companies have raised $71.5 million. So I think it's worth just taking the moment to explain my terrible pie chart here. There were 12 companies that raised less than 100,000. And there were 24 companies that raised between 100 and 500,000. And there were 13 that raised between $500,000 and $1 million. And we had 26 companies that raised over $1 million. And the largest of those was over 7 million. So we hope that you become more investment worthy in this process. We're going to do everything we can to help you get there. And we are at the same time, we're trying to build that for our investors as well. So I'll share that with you. So from the investor side, from Matthew's summer project, 95 total investors, 61 responded. So 2/3 of everybody that has invested in SDAC 1, 2, or 3 responded to the survey. 35, so about a little bit more than half of everybody who responded has joined at least one fund, which means that they've gained the confidence, skills, knowledge, and relationships that they needed to feel confident about going out and getting involved in some kind of other angel investing activity. 17 of them joined TCA San Diego. TCA San Diego has been our closest partner in this the last 3 years from an investment perspective. Stella Angels is another critical partner. So Sylvia Ma's actually the fund manager of Stella Angels, and has helped put that group together that has a gender and diversity focus. 4 of the investors that have played with us have started funds in the last 3 years, and there's 6 more considering. So, and then to the right there, I dropped in the names of all of the funds that have been reported to us that our investors have joined. So this has become a very great, now I'm not saying that these people wouldn't have gone and figured out how to do these things anyway. Again, I'm not trying to take credit. I'm just saying like, this is what's happened with the people who played. So exciting stuff. And really like, these are the biggest numbers I've ever seen anywhere. So San Diego is just blowing it out of the water for Angel Conference secondary impacts. And I think this is just about it. So the recap, application deadlines, December 15th, lots of stuff between now and then. Investors are going to start taking a crack at stuff on January the 5th. And oh, it says SDAC 3. I didn't get that changed. SDAC 4 should be on or real close to March the 26th. So with that, I think if there's any questions, happy to take questions. And if not, I'm going to hand it over to Chris. Okay.
No questions. I was totally expecting a question there. All right. So hi, everyone. I'm Chris. You may have already been hearing from me. I'm helping with the logistics. I work with Misty at the Free Enterprise Institute. So if you have any questions around calendaring resources, anything in general, I'm probably going to be the one fielding your questions from the info@thesdaangels.com email address. We'll do some quotes and possibly videos during these transitions. I actually tried playing a video earlier, didn't go so well. So I'll send a link here in the chat so you can watch something about some tips on speaking. And the quote for now is, "Strive not to be a success, but rather to be of value."
Greg is the CEO and co-founder of a company called Little Feet. And they use data to improve like all kinds of different business processes. I know Greg from some work that we did together. We at least worked on the same program through Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, which is a great program. A lot of our work is patterned off of what they've done in San Luis Obispo. And I heard him speak on storytelling at Angel NV. And so when we were setting up the schedule for this round, I reached out to him and really excited to get to have Greg Gibson here with us tonight. Greg, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Great. Well, it is my pleasure to be here with you. I am amazed at the program that has been put together for you all. Thinking back when I was a first-time young entrepreneur, back when I was 26 years old, you can tell it's been a while since I have gray stubble here in my face. If I had had a program like this, it would have been a big help. So you guys are all privileged to be a part of it. Yeah, so some years ago, I was asked to put together just a little workshop for entrepreneurs, and I was allowed to choose the topic of my choice. And I thought, well, what's the one thing I wish I had known? Or what was the number one skill I wish I had had in those early days being an entrepreneur? And the answer that came to me was how to tell a story. Not only when you're pitching investors, but you end up pitching a lot of different people, and the ability to just captivate their attention and get them interested in your project. It's really, through the years of my career, the number one most important skill I had to develop. So I can change slides. Just give me a second. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about myself. Founded my first startup in my 20s. It was called iCentral. It was e-commerce software. And back in the early 90s, that was groundbreaking, revolutionary stuff. Since then, I've been on the management team of multiple startups, usually either the founder, CEO, if not, then head of the product or technology. I'm a software developer, programmer, since I was 9 years old. It's my first love. And the markets I've developed companies in are in e-commerce, online advertising, and social media. I've had 4 profitable exits. I'm currently the CEO and co-founder of Metadata Mechanics, aka Little Feet Direct, using big data and AI and different things to help e-commerce companies. I've served as the entrepreneur in residence at a variety of venture funds, including Wasatch Ventures, Draper Fisher Jurvetson, to name a couple. I've been a mentor at Techstars, Seed Camp, and I was the entrepreneur in residence at Cal Poly here in San Luis Obispo. So with that career, I've made lots and lots of pitches over the years. I have sat where you sit, and I noticed that a lot of this this conference hinges on developing your pitch deck, developing your ability to get investors excited about your project. And I just want to share with you, after all the pitches I've done, the easiest, quickest, simplest way to get people's attention and convince them to write a check. So I've helped raise $63 million from top venture capitalists and angel investors across the country, including Draper Fisher, Charles River, Sigma, IDG, University Ventures. I've had to pitch big corporations to form partnerships with like Apple, Microsoft, Adobe, Amazon, to name a few. I've had to pitch team members. I've had to pitch engineers, marketing people, top level executives to join my startups. Those people are in high demand, and you've really got to sell them. And so that's a pitch too, just like you're pitching investors. That's a very important pitch when you're trying to convince people to join your team. And of course, I did lots and lots of customer pitches, partner pitches. Okay, so I think I've proved my point. I've done it before. All right, so basically what I found is that when you put your pitch into story form, it delivers the greatest impact and is most memorable. And let me kind of talk about why this is. So our brains seem to be wired to transmit and store information in a narrative or a story format. And if you think back to, when we were cave people, that's how we began to share information with each other. Before written language, we would sit down and tell stories. And so as our brains evolved, that's how we became wired to share information and remember information, is in this story format. And even today, we continue to teach our children in the same way. We tell them stories and they're captivated by stories. So if you want to make a memorable pitch, you need to learn how to tell a good story. So what makes a good story? Wait, what's a story anyway? So before we talk about a good story, let's talk about sort of story structure and story theory real quick. Okay, so in the simplest terms, a story is a sequence of events from beginning to end. It's a complete journey from A to Z with a start, a middle, and an end. Okay, so what makes a good story? So if a story is a journey, what is a good story and what's a not good story? So this is the key. The key to a good story is a sympathetic character, and I'll break this down for you in a minute. A sympathetic character on a mission or journey that we care about, who takes a believable, interesting journey. So a sympathetic character on a mission, i.e. a destination we care about, who takes a believable, interesting journey. Okay, so how does this, let's bring this all back down to startups and a startup pitch. What does that mean? How do you put a startup pitch into story format? So let's take that and break it down. So a sympathetic character. Well, the easiest way to think about that is your team. It's your company. It's you. You're the sympathetic character. And the mission we care about is what is your goal? What is your destination? Are you creating a meaningful impact? Are you revolutionizing an industry? Are you going to achieve extraordinary profits? What is the mission that you're trying to accomplish? And then the third part of it is a believable, interesting journey. So what is your plan? What's your idea? And what is your next steps? Map out how you're going to get from A to B. But you have to have the three legs of this stool. You can't just have a crazy, cool destination without a sympathetic character and a believable journey. And you can't have just an awesome team without an idea to work on. And you can't have a plan without a destination in mind or a team that's going to deliver on that plan. And if you kind of think about movie, you're sitting down and you watch a movie, you pick something random on Netflix and you get into 20 minutes, you're like, oh, I don't believe this. I don't believe this movie, or it's not really captivating your attention. It's usually because you don't have any sympathy for the main character, or you can't identify with the character, or the story you're not really interested in. Like, who cares if this guy does X? Like, it's not even interesting to me. I don't even care how this movie ends, because the character is not on a mission you care about. Or, and happens to everybody, you're like, oh, please, right? You're watching a movie, you're like, come on, that would so never happen. It's not believable. It's not interesting. So burn into your minds these three pillars of a pitch. A team that your audience can sympathize and identify with, doing something cool. They're on a mission they care about. And the plan is believable. And it's well thought out, and you think that they may actually pull it off. All right, so let's dig into the first pillar here. So your team, what does it mean to be sympathetic? Sympathy, I believe, means you share feeling, right? So you're relatable, you're human, you're humble, you're a listener, you're easy to work with. So as entrepreneur in residence of these venture funds, I got the chance to sit on the other side of the table with the investors and listen to a bunch of pitches from entrepreneurs. And I can't tell you how many times after the entrepreneurs, walk out of the room, the investors look at each other and say, well, that's a really interesting idea, but what a jerk. I just can't see myself working with that person. That kind of, they're just not very a sympathetic character, or they don't, we gave them advice and they seem to discard it. They didn't listen, or they weren't humble. And the other part of a believable sympathetic character is that you have a real personal connection to the problem or the market. How did you come up with this idea? What experience did you have as a person that brought you to this conclusion, to this concept for the company? What did you go through? What pain points did you experience that gave you this idea? So then the next pillar is the mission. So you have to have a meaningful, interesting destination. And I put this picture of a mountain range because it's kind of easy to think about, like, oh, okay, our destination is to climb to the top of this mountain. We're gonna climb the tallest mountain in the world. Right? That's our meaningful, interesting destination. And it's important that you illustrate that in your pitch, even if it's a 15-second elevator pitch. Hey, what are you guys working on? You have to touch on the big picture, the grand finale, the top of the mountain in that pitch to get them interested. And then the third pillar, your plan, the journey. So it has to be believable, much like the movie you watched where you lose interest because the storyline just is not convincing you, right? It has to be, they have to be able to envision your team reaching the top of that mountain. And the way you make your plan believable is to share some things like what you've discovered from your unique perspective, from the company you worked in or the industry you spent a lot of time in. What evidence do you have? And if you don't have evidence, that's fine. You don't have to have a ton of data or market testing or even a product built yet. But what you need to have is a plan to gather that evidence. And that plan has to be convincing that it will at least produce evidence. So the plan has to be believable. And then to kind of go back to our mountain climbing analogy, I like to talk about base camps. And so when you say, okay, I'm going to climb Mount Everest, well, okay, first you got to get to base camp 1 or base camp A or whatever it is. And you have to break it down into, all right, so we're going to create, a flying car, but we're raising $150,000. Well, $150,000 is not going to create a flying car, but what is your first base camp? What is step 1 that will get you established on the base of the mountain so that you can then build to base camp 2? And that's really important for the way to explain your plan, that you have a vital understanding of how the steps are constructed and how reaching base camp 1 will put you in a position to reach base camp 2, or to raise seed money. What you can accomplish with that angel money, that seed money, will put you into a position to raise your A round as soon as the money is spent. what are you going to spend the money on in this initial angel round that is going to make you a hot investment for the A round? And to demonstrate that your plan has that in mind, that we're raising $150,000 or $200,000 right now in order to accomplish these things. Because if we accomplish these things, we're going to be able to raise 5 million, 10 million on the basis of what we've accomplished in this round. Does that make sense? I'm going to imagine you're nodding yes. Okay, so let's use storytelling to create an awesome pitch. Okay, so I know this is a little silly, I apologize, but here's just a made up pitch, it's not in story format, so I'll read it to you. So, hi, we sell an additive to cow feed that changes the way a cow smells. The additive has no nutritional value and does not affect the cow's health. It is biodegradable. We manufacture it from strawberry leaf waste, which is cheap. We expect strong demand and our current customers really like it. We need additional funding to increase production and to expand our customer base. Okay, so that's a pretty typical pitch. This is what we do. This is how we do it. We are excited about the prospects and we're raising money to grow the company. So let's look at this same pitch in storytelling format. So here we go. My family has owned a ranch for generations and I love cows, but they smell bad. So I invented a patented additive for feed that makes cows smell like strawberries. We want to get this additive into the hands of all ranchers worldwide, so all cows smell like strawberries. I told you the story. Our margins are 90% and the market size is $2 billion. Our 5 test ranchers love it and want more. We need $50,000 to produce and sell more locally. Using those testimonials, we will market to ranchers in the US and secure distribution deals with major feed suppliers. So it's the same company, same pitch, but this one is in story format. We're using a sympathetic character. We got a little backstory. My family's owned a ranch. I grew up on a ranch. I love cows. I have an interesting destination, and that is all cows around the world are going to smell better. And we're going to have a company that has 90% margins in a $2 billion market size. So I've illustrated the top of that mountain. They can see, oh, okay, so if you're successful, that's the end game. You're going to have a company in a $2 billion market with excellent margins worldwide. And now the third pillar is a believable story. All right, so first, we're just going to keep doing it locally. We only need $50,000 to produce and sell more locally. That sounds reasonable, to just do that with a few local ranchers. And then we're going to use those testimonials to secure distribution deals. So there's a little bit of mapping it out, how we're going to get to that big company and what is our first base camp. Okay, so here is your template. And if we have time, and if you guys want to do this, we can actually work on a couple of your pitches right here and now. If you want to look at this template and just kind of jot down, see if you can squeeze your company idea or the company you're working on into this template, I can actually workshop it with you a little bit here in this session. So let's take a look at this template. And if you know what I think, if you want to just take this template and put it into the chat box, I can look at it and then maybe I can pick a couple and we can work on it verbally one-on-one in the call. So we are blank. And that's where you put your sympathetic characters. We are, 2 engineers that have worked at this company in this space, or we are food science students who are passionate about this, whatever. We discovered this, and we want to blank. You know, what is your opportunity? The opportunity we believe in, a mission we care about. What are you striving for? And our plan is to, what is that first base camp, and how is that going to get you to the next level? Okay, so I'm going to just leave this up for a second. You guys, if you want to jot this down in your notebook or whatever. And I'm going to give you just one more example to get the juices flowing. All right. All right, this one's a little less silly. Still silly. Okay, so my team and I have been working in restaurants most of our lives. We love the business, but the food waste really bothers us. We discovered a way to use machine learning to drastically improve food planning, resulting in 20% less waste for our beta users. We are raising $250,000 to increase our beta users from 5 restaurants to 100 in the coming year, and then raise a venture round to launch nationally. This is a super short but complete pitch. It has the 3 legs of the stool. If you find yourself in an elevator with you know, an angel investor that says, hey, what are you guys doing? Oh, well, we've been working in restaurants most of our lives. We love restaurants, but food waste is crazy. Well, we figured out how to use machine learning to reduce waste by 20%. We're raising $250K to increase our user base from 5 to 100 in the coming year, and then we're getting ready for a venture round. You've covered all the bases in like 25 seconds. You say, oh, well, here's my card. You know, give me a call. I'll have you guys come in and pitch us, right? Okay, so if you want to practice now, if you're interested in workshopping it with me right now during this session, real quick, write just a 3 short paragraphs, just like I did here. Short paragraphs, just this size right here. Don't fill a page, just a couple sentences for each pillar. Your believable, sympathetic, knowledgeable team, what you discovered, and a mission we care about, and what is your believable plan? And before we launch into that, does anybody have a question? And I don't know how to tell. Let's see what's chat.
If they go into the chat, I'll just read them to you.
There we go. Ah, I can see the chat. What if you were a team of 1? That's fine. I use the word team loosely. That's fine. It's just, in many ways, it's easier because you don't have to tell your story. Let's see. All right, Stacy, you got the first pillar there. You guys know how to raise your hand? If so, in the Zoom call, if so, do that to let me know you're actually interested in workshopping your pitch here real quick. Good one. Okay, that's all I need. Who's going? Okay. Okay, great. Rich, are you? I'm going to ask you to unmute here. Are you ready to work on it?
I threw it into the chat, but I can do it over the microphone too.
Okay, let me just read your chat here. Okay, it's pretty long. Let me just read this here. Oh yeah, one thing I want to add here about pitches is a common misconception, especially with first-time entrepreneurs. A pitch is not, the purpose is not to kind of cram all of the information about your company into the presentation. It's like a movie trailer. The goal of a pitch is to get an invitation for a meeting. So, you know, when you think about a movie trailer, now some of them give away the endings, but they don't show you the whole movie. They just get you to want to watch the movie. And it was helpful to me to think about a pitch like that. It's really designed to get another meeting with investors where they really want to dig in to your company. Okay, so founders work with rescue organizations for the past decade. I'm the CTO and I've run a software agency in San Diego for the past 12 years. Animal rescue organizations are historically non-technical, understaffed, and overwhelmed. The general public that have interacted with rescue are apprehensive because they've had bad experiences with shady organizations. We are building a platform to help solve the digital problem for rescues and a cloud-based rating system to provide transparency to the public, as well as provide tools for short-term adoptions and donations. We need to raise money for a go-to-market for a platform here in San Diego. Okay, so I'm a product guy. I'm an engineer and I've been head of product development, usually in these companies I've been a part of. And I do what you just did. I love to talk about my product. And the pitch can easily turn into details and information about the product. And this is a little counterintuitive because you may be thinking, well, that's what I'm doing. I'm pitching my product. I'm pitching the company. But a company is much more than a product. A company, in fact, it's those three pillars. Okay, it's the team, it's your protagonist on the journey, it's the vision, and your product is a part of that. The vision, and it's your plan. So can you guys see how Rich's pitch is super heavy on product? And so let's try this again. Rich, if you could here again. Okay, so Rich, tell me about why you decided to work on this. You and the founder, why you decided to tackle this problem. What was it personally that got you guys interested in this space?
Yeah, I think there's a real big need, especially post-pandemic, where a lot of animals have ended up back in the shelter, or like, you know, ending pandemic here, hopefully. And I think there's a really big opportunity because, you know, this is the space like you hit the nail on. You know, I build products. This is what we do. We've built similar products before. I think there's a really good opportunity here to enable these organizations to do really well and help connect them with people that really want to care. And there's a number of, you know, kind of case studies with different people that we've talked about that have, you know, want to help and just aren't really sure, you know, how to because of different constraints or hesitations. And I think a really good online system to help these organizations and to provide better transparency to the public and better tools to them could be very successful.
Okay, got it. Okay, so, and how many animals are rescued every year, do you think, in the US?
I don't have that.
Let's make up
I didn't come prepared with that data.
All right, I'll make up a
unfortunately.
number. Yeah. Let's say 200,000. I don't know what the number is.
Right.
And how much money is spent by the companies that, you know, I know you probably don't know this either, but the money spent trying to match people that want to rescue an animal with agencies that have animals to rescue, let's call it $100 million a year. And what do you think, what would you like to have built? If you were going to raise $5 million, what do you think you would need to demonstrate to investors that you've proven to raise $5 million?
Just the monetization opportunities of that, the market cap and availability, and
how much? So is this like an online platform that people pay a monthly subscription to?
Right. So it'd be
Okay.
like, it's a two-party, or multiple parties. So there'd be like, multiple people that would be coming together and multiple revenue streams from that.
So your pitch goes like this. My founder and I noticed that during this pandemic, millions of animals ended up having to be put down because they couldn't get adopted. And there are over 2,500 agencies working hard to place these animals, but yet they still couldn't place them. And there are 1 million families looking for animals to adopt. Why couldn't this get connected? Well, we want to bring technology to solve this problem. We envision a central place where anybody looking to adopt an animal and anybody who has an animal that needs to be adopted can connect and solve this problem. And these agencies spend already $100 million a year in just outreach and operational costs finding prospective adopters for these animals. And we want to be able, we believe that if we can, by raising $200,000, we can show that these agencies will spend an average of $200 a month to sign up for our platform, and we'll be in a great position to raise $5 million in our next round to create this global platform. So that was a little clunky, but did you see how?
No, that's awesome. Yeah, like I didn't have the data quite with me to make that compelling story, but I totally, that really helped break it down.
You got to make it human. I know this is a business, and I know this is technology. I know it's software, but animals getting put down, families unable to find a dog to adopt. I mean, this is the human side of it that investors.
Well, and that's, I feel like it makes like, it's such a great pitch because of that. Like there's the human, there's the technology, we just need to fill in the blanks.
If this platform had been in place pre-pandemic, we would have saved, 250,000 animals, and there's a market for this, and there's enough money here to make a very profitable company. Okay, let's move on.
I appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, great. Okay, Kelly, we're a small team of heart-led innovators, and we've discovered a better way to give gifts and allow brands to connect with their users. We want to help people with unmet needs get those met efficiently, help buyers get the right things, and increase supplemental sales and reduce wasteful returns for retailers. Our plan is to launch our updated product to continue growing our community and bring on more advertisers and brands. Okay. So it's feeling a little non-specific, right? After we worked on the Saving the Animals pitch, can you see how, Kelly, if you want to unmute, can you see how you can add just a little more spice and more human connection to this?
Not only after that, but after reading some of the things that people have highlighted in theirs, I'm seeing most definitely. It's just trying to find which pieces are the most compelling.
Yeah. And so you've discovered a better way to give gifts. Why? How? Why do you care? Bring some of that personal connection into it. Bring me a sympathetic character. Bring me a team I want to chill with, and talk about this problem. Keep in mind too that angel investors, by and large, aren't doing this as their primary source of income. They're doing it because it's a heck of a lot of fun to hang with young entrepreneurs and to change the world and to be a part of something that's groundbreaking. And what that means is you really got to really highlight the personal, impactful, salient points of what you're working on. Now, this is a business. This is, you know, buy low and sell high. Right? It's still at the heart, you know, it's you're there to make money, but that's not what it makes a memorable pitch. That's not what makes an investment opportunity tasty, you know, for these investors. And so you've got to really take those three pillars and make it human and believable. Okay. So like Kelly, you say our plan is to launch our updated product to continue growing our community. Yes, everybody's plan is to continue growing their community. You know, like what are specifically, like we want to raise some angel funding, because if we can show that, you know, that advertisers can increase their efficiency by 20%. Wow, like we've completely changed this industry, you know. Give it a little more specificity that's going to put you in a place for your A round.
Sounds good.
All right. Next one, Tripti. I hope I'm saying your name right. We are female founders and female investors. We discovered there's a huge gender bias in VC funding. Women only raise 2% and receive average check sizes that are up to 70% lower. The primary reasons are lack of access to warm intros and implicit bias. We want to address the access and bias issues and plan to begin with an open access platform where anyone can upload their pitch decks, but they are anonymized and modulated with female voices. Oh, that's very interesting. We recently won most compelling pitch at On Deck and would like to start with pitch competitions in San Diego. Okay, that's cool idea. I'm trying to think here. So it would be, I would say, just first glance here, I would say if you can tie into a personal story, like, you know, we encountered a lot of bias, you know, trying to raise money for previous companies, or if you can make it a little more personal, that'd be cool, sympathetic, believable character. And then the mission is very good, we care about. I would focus a little more on sort of the help illustrate for me the top of the mountain. What does that look like? We'd like to have all entrepreneurs start their process on our platform, right? So paint the picture of what the world looks like once you've succeeded. Once you're a large organization and you've reached your goals, what does that look like? And
Okay.
and then just kind of what is your base camp A? Like our first goal is to do X. And if we can accomplish X, that puts us in a position to do Y. You see?
I do. I'm sorry. I was really just trying to make it fit into, let me get 3 lines out on a,
I know it's hard.
in this. And so I just like learn from, hey, don't like be concise. But it's devastating, but also so exhilarating because the bar's so low here, guys, right? 2%. Every like 10 basis points is $200 million. Like these numbers just feed themselves. But thank you for the advice. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and you've hit on a very real and a very big problem. And the temptation is to really just dwell on that problem in the whole pitch. But you got to remember that stool is going to fall over if you don't give equal weight to the other 2 legs of the stool. So what's your plan to solve that problem? And why are you the team to tackle the problem, right? So why do I believe, that Luke Skywalker is going to bring down the evil empire, right? You've got to sell me on your character, on your ability as part of the pitch. And it could just be just passion and openness and willing to learn. You got to show that and give equal weight to those 3 pillars. Wow, gosh, I wish I had time to do all of these. Let me just kind of skim through here. Can somebody give me a sense of how much time we have left?
Greg, you've got about 15 minutes left.
Okay.
You can do 15 minutes.
Let me do one more, and then I'll just kind of open it to Q&A. Let's see. Well, I'm going to pick the cancer one. Okay. Bill, I'm a cancer geneticist who has led a team of PhD drug hunters to consult with over 50 startup pharma companies to help them get their drugs to the clinic. All right, believable character. That sounds like you know what you're talking about. My PhD advisor and I discovered a new way to find genetic weak points of cancer, which opens up untreatable cancer types and new drug targets, which could save 200,000 lives per year worldwide. Now that's the top of a friggin' mountain right there. Very nice. And represents total addressable market, I believe, TAM, of over $2.5 billion annually. Very nice. We have proof of concept drug data and are raising our seed round in order to perform medicinal chemistry to improve the efficacy of, sorry, it's late in the day, of our compound 10x. This milestone will enable Series A funding. Very nicely done. So you can see the three pillars here. This is who we are. This is why we're credible. This is the top of the mountain we're shooting for. And this is our plan. So I would totally watch this movie, right? It's like, oh, wow, if they can save 200,000 lives per year at the end of this movie, and it's a believable story. So they just need a little bit of money to improve the performance of this compound. And then if they can do that, that will set them up for Series A funding. Nicely done. I would challenge you, Bill, to even condense it. See if you can condense that, not right now, but think about how you might be able to condense that into a couple sentences. You know, like, hey, some buddies and I figured out how to target cancer in a new way that's going to save a bunch of lives. And we're so close to proving this in the laboratory. And once we do, it's going to we're going to blow it out. You know, so yeah, so super, super cool. All right, why don't I just open it up to general Q&A, and I don't know how you guys want to do this, like raise your hand or put the questions in the chat.
You can put the questions in the chat, or Richard can moderate them out. But I don't mind if you guys just want to call them too. That's fine.
I guess, you know, a couple other things I want to add though. If you had to pick one of these legs of the stool as the most important, the answer is the team. I've seen and invested in teams where the other two legs are kind of sketchy. Like their plan is, I don't know, and the top of the mountain is a little, you know, shrouded in cloud cover. But it's a team with history. It's a team with personal connection to the problem. It's a team that is humble, that listens, that learns fast, that's open to advice, that is good at surrounding themselves with experts. And I've seen, and especially obviously, you know, proven entrepreneurs, they can raise money with no idea whatsoever. But I would really, and the funny thing is, I've seen a lot of first-time entrepreneurs, they kind of, you know, put the team in their last slide, they kind of put it at the end, or they're kind of a little bit embarrassed that they've never done this before, and they kind of downplay it and really try to emphasize the idea or try to emphasize the market. But really the team is what it's all about. They want to see your passion and your just the work you're willing to put into it. Okay, Q&A. So Karen, do you have a question?
Yeah, hi, thanks so much. This is super helpful. So I have have basically a hub. It's not really a marketplace. So there's the consumer side and then there's the customer side, right? So we have built a platform that connects natural products brands with consumers, no matter where the consumers shop. And my story is a personal story, but I also, I'm a repeat founder in the natural products industry. So I understand the natural products brands problems. So, you know, I tried to put the pitch, it was pretty long.
Yeah.
In the chat, but I think the challenge that I'm having is that, you know, it's two sides and both sides are very compelling. And when I start off, unfortunately, with my story that, you know, everybody in my family got sick because of pesticides, it throws off the investor in listening to the rest of the story, where really the value of Makina is in the data that we're collecting. And that's going to grow us into this billion-dollar company.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I'm glad you have an understanding of it. And I'm a data person myself.
I know you are.
That makes me happy to hear you say. Yeah, so I don't know. You know what helps, I think, for me sometimes is just say, if they wrote a movie about your company, what would the trailer sound like? You know, in a world where everybody's suffering from pesticides, you know, along comes a company that helps match consumers with pesticide-free options in a $5 billion market where X% of them are laced with dangerous chemicals that consumers don't know about. They change the way consumers buy products, you know, in general, you know, and in order to raise the funding they need, they're going to show that consumers will clamor to be a part of this, and natural brands will fall all over themselves to list their products on this website. And it's only going to take 200,000. You know, I don't know. I don't know if I've even nailed it.
Right? Yeah,
I don't even know if I nailed your idea, but
yeah,
and I'm sure there's a lot more detail there. But remember, it's a teaser.
Yeah,
you don't have to explain the whole company in your pitch. You just have to get the listener to go, oh, what? You're doing what? Let me get you into my calendar to come into my office. I'm really interested in hearing more. So think about it in those terms. Like, are you saving lives? Are you saving money? Are you changing the way people behave that they've been doing it for the last 50 years? Are you saving the environment? Are you doing all of the above? Are you, and how big are the dollars we're talking about? How many hundreds of millions of dollars are you shifting from one inefficient place to a more efficient place? And why is your team the people, you know, summoned by the president to accomplish, you know, to save the planet? You know what I mean? I can tell I'm a fan of movies, but does that help? I mean, don't succumb to the temptation to try to explain it all. Just make it tasty to like want to know more. Try to boil it down into we're a group of renegade ex-military people who want to fight the aliens who are invading our planet. And we've got this new super weapon that's almost finished. We just got to put the final touches on it. It's that kind of emotion and personal connection that you're shooting for.
Yeah, that's helpful. I mean, I've done basically the 60-second pitch, the 90-second pitch, the 2-minute pitch. I did a 5-minute pitch, no, 3-minute pitch to Kevin O'Leary, and we just won a grant from him. But that was like the bigger story, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. All right. Super helpful. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Else? Yeah. Misty, tell me when I'm at my limit.
We can probably do one more, and then we should probably move to breakout rooms. So for everybody else, we do have some breakout room time. So if you have process questions for me or Pradnya is going to jump back on if you want to talk to somebody who's been through the process before. She's going to run a room. Or Greg will be on for a few more minutes to answer questions in there, but we can probably do one more here with the whole group.
Rich, did you have another question? You want to unmute?
Nope, that was just stuck up. Sorry.
Oh yeah, that was from before. Okay. Well, yeah, I'll just wrap it up here then. Thanks so much for listening, and thanks so much for giving me an opportunity to relive my entrepreneurial journey. And don't give up, and be open and humble, and learn along the way, and you'll surprise yourself. And another thing, don't be afraid to reach out to people at all levels of business and all levels of society. People love to help entrepreneurs, and you'll do great things, you know. So congrats on your journey, and good luck.
Thanks so much, Greg. It's great to have you here. There's just two things left for me to share. We'd love to have you back next week. So we set the registration up this year so that you're automatically registered for the whole fall series. We hadn't done that before, and it's always like a kind of a, it's always kind of been an issue. So we're trying it a different way this year. You're welcome to join us next week. Next week, the main speaker, first session speaker, will be Doug Coleman. He's done a talk for us before, and it's one of my very favorites. So we're going to turn the deck on its head. We're going to start with the last slide, which is usually the ask slide. And we're going to have him walk us through the process of how do you identify ways your company could fail, identify how much it costs to mitigate those potential risks, and then build your ask backward from that point. So just a sort of a magical piece of work. First time I saw it, I sort of fell out of my chair. It's really great stuff. So very excited to have Doug Coleman with us for next week, Wednesday. And with that, if there's any parting questions or last thoughts, Sumner, Brian, of course, as fund managers, want to give you opportunity to share anything you'd like. I see him working for mics.
I know, right? I see some reaching. I went first last time. I was going to let some go first this time. Okay. No, I just, this is my kind of second and a half cycle, to be honest with you. I came in kind of in the middle of SDAC 2, and it's always so intriguing to see so many fantastic ideas, hear so many fantastic personalities all of you have, and this being, perhaps, I know some of you are returning, and for some of you this may be the first time that you've ever joined such a group, but I'm always encouraged to see how much everyone advances their idea and their capabilities. And I'm so happy that you joined us from the start. I hope we haven't scared anybody away, and I certainly look forward to seeing everybody in the 14 following weeks that we've got.
Yeah, and kind of to compliment Brian, now that I can find my mouse, ultimately, lean into this process. The more that everyone puts into this, lean into it. Don't be scared. There is no such thing as a stupid question unless I ask it, which is usually the dumbest question in the room. I take great pride in that. And again, surrounding yourself with people that are in this room, and the experts and the speakers and the value they can provide, regardless of whether you're building a cash flow business, or a high growth startup or a biotech software company. All of these things will apply and give you perspective and give you a better ability to solve the problems you will face as an entrepreneur, ultimately leading to hopefully your successful exit. So lean into this, take advantage of it, be shameless. There is no such thing as a dumb question. All of these things are actually true here. And as Misty said, the goal here is to get to yes, right? We really want to help all of you better raise capital, better identify your holes in your business, because ultimately, right, not only by identifying your holes in your business, does that help you grow your companies, but to be very frank, it helps investors like myself, Brian, and all of the other investors on this call identify new opportunities to invest in and to work alongside you and grow your dreams, change the world, and hopefully, if we're all lucky, make a meaningful impact. So I look forward to seeing you all next week and kind of going through that process and keep leaning in.
One other thing to keep in mind too, I think Pradna just jumped off when I started talking a second ago, but I wanted to thank her. I'll thank her in absentia for coming back and being a part of this first SDAC 4 event. Something that she did that I'll encourage you to do. She actually got together on a regular basis with 2 of the other founders last year during SDAC 3. I think it may have even been 3 different founders. I was going to have her explain that. So don't be afraid to reach out to one another, okay? Because you are your own best support as well, because you each know if you have somebody that's in a similar place in their startup, you're going through the same things, even if it's in a different industry. So I'd encourage you all to reach out and support one another as much as you can.
All right, these are also recorded, so we will get the recording cleaned up, and the goal is always to have it posted by Friday morning. The natural place to find it's on the website. So the sdangels.com/events is where you'll find the recording, unless Chris tells me it's somewhere else. No, he says the same. So that's where it'll be, hopefully by Friday morning. We're a lean crew right now, so just.
Could you say that address again?
Sure, it's in the chat too. So,
Oh, okay, sorry.
yeah, the SDAngels with an S.com/events.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Everybody have a great night, and we will see you here again next week.